The reason why I picked this topic is because recently, last week, we got the Uncharted trailer. And I believe, of course, we haven't seen the movie. The movie's not even out. But did you see the trailer?
It sucked.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 56 of New Game Experience. My name is Juan Paulini, and with me here is my usual co-host, Cristian Caroli. How are you, my friend? We've missed you over here.
Doing well, surviving.
Surviving.
It's been a long couple of weeks. I've been traveling the galaxy in Destiny 2.
Yes, I've seen you. I've seen you all over this solar system and others. So yes,
And some other dimensions.
Yeah,
I still don't get the full lore, so I probably gonna. We can get into that later.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to hear about your experience with My Name is Bife because I think his videos are amazing. I think you kind of delve into those a little bit, right?
He has a 4-hour video about like the full lore. I'm 1 hour in, but I have to say it's you need to like make the time to really sink into the lore of Destiny because I don't know why, but I think there's a lot of sci-fi, but there's also a lot of fantasy. Like I would say it's even more fantasy than sci-fi. It's kinda like a weird thing. You did it?
I caught it. Yes.
Amazing. Animal cruelty in live TV.
Yes, we caught it on camera. We have
Exactly.
it. The death of a little soul. You caught it.
Gone, reduced to ashes.
Yeah, I picture it like I don't know if you played Pikmin, like when one of them dies and it's like, oh.
Yeah. You can add that effect later.
Exactly, I will. But yeah, we will delve into Destiny later because I do think that what you're talking about, the fantasy mixed with the sci-fi, is pretty interesting, and I've also seen that a lot. However, this episode we are gonna be talking about video game adaptations. We're gonna limit it to only like movies and series because I know that there have been like comics, there have been books based on like Gears of War and Halo and all that, but on the one hand, I don't have any experience with those literary adaptations, and on the other hand, I just wanted to, grab this.
I have a few. So I actually read a novel for Gears of War.
Oh, that's awesome. Then I will ask you about that when we come to that realm. So yeah, I love that you had that perspective. So first of all, I would love to start, as always. You know how I always like to go from macro to micro. How do you feel about when you hear this term video game adaptations? Like, what comes to mind? What do you think about it? And then we'll go into the nitty gritty.
Absolutely hopeless. I expect nothing out of like those two words. Whatever you say after that, I have absolutely no expectations, no bar, no beliefs.
Well,
I'm immune. Like my heart's been broken so many times.
They certainly have had a long track record to make us feel that way. I definitely agree. So I wrote down a couple of examples here, just to get everybody on the same page. If they're listening at home or watching in YouTube, we're talking about like the movies that they did, for example, for Assassin's Creed. The movie that they did for Tomb Raider, which then got rebooted. I haven't seen the reboot, but I don't really have much expectations for it.
It was a reboot?
Yeah, they did one with Alicia Vikander. You know her from...
With the one that was kind of like the original... Not the original. Like, was she like one of the models of the new versions of Tomb Raider or something like that?
I don't think so, because the new Tomb Raider, I don't remember her name, but she's like a really kind of a famous actress, like the one who does the voices and the motion capture.
Okay.
But then Alicia Vikander, she was in this movie with Eddie Redmayne where he is
the Danish girl.
Yes, that's the one.
Okay.
She's that one, and then she was also in, I believe, I don't know. I believe she's a Danish actress. I may be getting that wrong. But yeah, she's been on a couple of Hollywood productions. And she did this Tomb Raider reboot because, as we all know, the first set of films was done by Angelina Jolie. Very famous and very weird adaptations. I mean, they're like basic whatever action films, and I'm sure that this one is also a basic whatever action film.
I have kind of like a hot take about Tomb Raider like in general. I think that Tomb Raider at some point stopped being a game and it's just an IP. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think there are, even though it was like a massive hit of a game, I don't think there are any like real hardcore Tomb Raider fans. I don't know if that makes sense.
I think it does make sense because like the original ones, and when I'm saying original ones, I mean like from 1 to maybe Angel of Darkness, which was a horrible PS2 game. I don't know if you played it, but it was really bad. They had like this kind of identity, but then they just went into Uncharted. I mean, Uncharted undoubtedly also has a little bit of influence from Tomb Raider, but then they kind of like uh ate what Uncharted shit out, and then they shit something as well. So I know that it's kind of
Here's the thing: what I believe about like Tomb Raider, I don't think the games inherently have an identity, gameplay wise, or like experience wise, or like I don't know if the fact that she was a woman and like politically the and socially the world has changed so much that they always felt the need to like I don't think that the word is respect her more, but in a way adapt her differently. Like I don't think the character ever had kind of like a real voice. So when it moved into cinema, it was Angelina Jolie doing an action film. Like it was not Lara Croft.
yeah. I think I agree because I mean I would love to be able to say more, but I didn't really play the original ones. Like as I said, I think I played Angel of Darkness in PS2, which was horrible, horrible, horrible. So I don't have that like experiences to say like whether she did have an identity or not. I would agree with you
Well,
from the little.
I played a
Yeah.
few, and
Okay.
like I think that you don't need to like platinum the game to be like I have an opinion. But I played the most recent ones, and the most
Hmm.
recent ones also had like this weird position where they're always it's always like the game that they slap into every service. You know, like it's you get this for free or like it's a platinum version, and it's kind of like a game that I don't think it's mediocre, but it's just kind of like fun. And that's it. Like I don't know. So it's the fact that they made movies about it. It was also, I think there's something tricky, which is like kind of like when games trickle down to social media. I mean to the pop discourse through social media. Have you seen
Mm.
this Coca-Cola ad that they have running now about that is kind of like League of Legends? See,
No, I
you
haven't.
haven't seen it? Oh my god! I just I would like for you like if you were to see it, you like you won't. I think you won't understand what I'm saying. Like if you haven't seen it, anyone else, and you're watching this, go and search for I don't know League of Legends Coca Cola or something like that. So
I'll
the
put it
point
in
is
the
this.
description.
Yeah, just put it in the description. So basically, what happens is like it's a game that they're playing on an esports tournament. It seems to be like League of Legends, but with CGI photorealistic graphics, and there's an orc, and then suddenly the orc looks at the axe, and there's a pro player with his nails painted on and like the huge headset, and then the orc just drops his hammer, and then he opens a Coca Cola, drinks it, and then he makes a toast with his opponent, and then you're like, what the fuck is going on? Like
What's the
whoever
what?
wrote this
What's the
has never
message?
yeah whoever wrote this just simply doesn't understand that no one wants to stop the game and have the characters drink a coca-cola. It's League of Legends, you know, like yeah, I guess that Real Madrid and Barcelona could like stop playing and then just drink some coca-cola and settle their difference in a conversation, but you are there because you want to pay for a football match, and it's just so ridiculous. So my point is, whenever these things are adapted into the pop discourse, it's just people that literally don't understand what's going on. They do not understand anything. Like they just see this is a woman, she's athletic, she does action. This can be Angelina Jolie, and that's kind of like what Tom Raider was.
I think you touch upon a very important topic because that is the basis of what is wrong with 99% of adaptations that I've seen of video games. Because, like you say, It's that they don't understand what makes the game tick or what makes gamers love these characters or whatever it is that we're talking about. And of course, I'm sure you can picture it. Well, I think I told you this over messages or anything, but to let everybody know, the reason why I picked this topic is because recently, last week, we got the Uncharted trailer. And I believe, I mean, of course, we haven't seen the movie. The movie's not even out. But did you see the trailer?
It sucked. Like
Okay.
1 minute in, and I was like, "This is what does this has to do with anything? Why are you doing this? Like, what's the fucking
Absolutely.
point? Like Mark Wahlberg as Sully, like he's not old. Like what? Mark Wahlberg is the worst casted actor in the world. Like every time I see him, he's a good actor, but this is wrong. Like he shouldn't be here. It's like when he was on, I think it was The
Max Payne?
Happening, and in
Oh, yeah.
Max Payne. It's like why is this guy here? He's a gangster. He's kind of like an action hero. He's not a no not like the mentor, like the witty guy. He's not famous for his humor. Like why is he here? It's just so ridiculous. And Tom Holland is like he's already Spider Man. Like you can't get an actor that everyone's gonna look at him and be like, "This is Spider Man," and then you expect him to be like another action hero. You know?
Absolutely. I mean, I saw the trailer and I was like, okay, this looks kind of fun, but it doesn't. I mean, why is this happening? Because let's say, putting aside the idea that Uncharted is already Indiana Jones, so for Indiana Jones to go into games, become Nathan Drake, and for Nathan Drake to go back to films, that doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, why?
And
Because
also like the action set pieces, like they already happened in the games. Like the only reason you would do this is to amplify the audience, and that's it. And I think
yeah,
that's probably what's gonna happen. Like some people are gonna see it and be like, "Oh, this is what my kids were playing." Okay, and that's gonna
exactly.
be it. Like I don't think that anyone is gonna be, "Oh, there's this Uncharted movie. I'm gonna go and play the game." It's like everyone knows what Uncharted is. Like, and if they go and see the movie, like what the games are, it's not gonna be there because the games are like a little bit about exploration, you know, like this fast-paced, slow-paced mix of rhythm. The characters have a very, very unique identity that I don't think that Tom Holland has the comedic rhythm of Nolan North. Like he just doesn't have it. So I don't know. Also, Mark Wahlberg is not funny. Like, why is he in Ted? Like, he wasn't funny there, and it's just disappointing to see that this is just like a Hollywood. In the end, it's just a Hollywood adaptation. Like, why would I want to
Yeah,
watch this instead of like playing Uncharted 4 again?
correct. Yeah, I mean, I mean, in the end, the answer as to why they're doing this is, of course, like you said, to get more audience. And if you want to dilute it even more than that, just to get more money out of the IP. I mean, it's obvious. But
I
we're
would even say not
fans.
even that. It's
Okay.
because there's money to be spent. Like if this makes money or not, like the studio has to make a movie, and this is kind of like the marketing case. Like, okay, we're doing like a video game adaptation. A lot of these movies, they're not like creative bets. They're just out of hand projects that they serve a portfolio, which is we do great movies, Oscar movies, and we do video game adaptations, and they're like these are the video game adaptations, and that's it. It's a project thing. Money needs to be spent, and they're gonna do it this way.
That's also true. And also, the important thing about this movie is that it's the first PlayStation Studios movie, like officially, right? Like we know Sony has been making movies for decades, but for PlayStation Studios with the logo and everything, this is the first one. So I do think that they needed to grab a very recognizable character and do a good job, which we're all, of course, very dubious of whether that's going to be the case. But they needed to make a splash, and I think that they will, because people are gonna go and see this movie. I don't think it's gonna be very critically acclaimed, but I think
I don't
people are gonna watch
know.
it.
Like I don't know if people are definitely gonna go and see this movie. Like they're gonna see this movie the same way they would have gone and see anywhere. If I were to make a movie with PlayStation Studios, I think this is kind of like the weakest one I would pick because it's the most generic one. And it's the same thing from The Last of Us. The Last of Us is just The Walking Dead made by Naughty Dog. It's that's it. Like it's the fact that it's coming back to film is like It's it's like, why is this here? Like, it might be cool because it has like it's from HBO, and the people involved are very talented and whatnot, and it's a game that not everyone has played, and it's not a game that is super accessible as Uncharted and as ubiquitous. But I think that also there's no need to have that. But I think it will be a successful project.
Yeah, I truly hope so, because not only do I love that story, and I mean, any idea, like, I don't think I'm gonna benefit too much from it, because I think the same as you. Like, I don't see the necessity in doing this, especially because they're gonna retread the first game's story. It's not like we're gonna see anything new. And I mean, I know that, I think, what's the name of this guy, Neil Druckmann? He said something like, with the series we can kind of expand upon things we couldn't do in the game. But I'm like, you think that in a series of, I don't know, let's say it's 10 hour episodes, sorry, 10 1 hour episodes, so it's 10 hours. You
Yeah.
think that in 10 hours you're going to do more than you did in a game where it was like 15 to 20? I highly doubt it, but
And
I
you
don't know.
literally have like a lot more resources. Like it's it's easier. But I think that they could probably focus on different things because like you spend a lot of time obviously like playing the game and whatnot. But I am afraid that they're gonna miss the point, like what's the core of this story. So like I'm always skeptical because I like games for being games, and I think that I'm getting more and more bored of cutscenes as I grow older. And I think that some of these adaptations when I was way younger were a lot cooler because I just wanted more out of the games, and the games were pretty lean. Like I remember, like the first adaptation I ever saw in a film was Street Fighter. I saw it in the movies in a movie theater, and I remember thinking as a kid, like I don't know, I was probably like 6 or something, like wow, this is good. Because Street Fighter 2 by that time was pretty rigid. Like most of the things you thought came out of your imagination. And now that I'm older, I know that that movie was shit. You know,
You mean the one with Jean-Claude Van Damme, right?
the one with Jean-Claude Van Damme playing like the most American character in the world. So, and I think that one was shit, but it was like more of the same. And I think it's the same line for books. I read a few novels. I would have to think like what have I read from expanded universes, but the Gears of War one is like I think I've read one from, definitely read one from Gears of War and one from Warcraft. And the one from Gears of War, I was like excited because like okay, I want more of these games. I was like, kind of like a big fan, but it was not. It was a pretty mediocre book, just like that. Just that's it. It just had a brand on top of it, and it was like okay, I want more of this, and I got it.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, it's very disappointing that that went like that. I do believe that there's a Halo novel that could be competent, but I don't really know because I haven't read it. But getting back to The Last of Us a little bit, because I there's another thing I wanted to say about it. Was the good thing about it. I agree with you that it's not necessary. As soon as I saw what they were doing, I was like, why? But it's like we go back to the same Uncharted point. Like, they just want to tackle a new audience, and how you said, like, spend that money to get
Spend
some more
that money.
portfolio, and also to, like, as you also said, get that get some notches under the PlayStation Studios belt that they
Yeah.
need and they want to have. So that's okay, that's fine. But the good thing about it is that we have Neil Druckmann, who is the director of the game, directing. I don't know if the whole series, but I know he's going to direct some episodes.
Yeah.
I think that is pretty cool, pretty vital, because on 99%, if not 100% of the others adaptations that I know of, it's never people shared. Like, the guys who created the game are the same people who are doing the movies, and that is normally what is tends to go wrong, like with Doom, the
Yeah.
one with The Rock, and well, we have so many examples.
I think that this is a good opportunity to show whether it can suck in a whole nother level. That would be what would be interesting because also he doesn't have experience directing this type of projects. That's gonna be
Correct.
new for him. He is very good with working with actors, but these are actors in a whole nother level, probably. Well, I don't know. That's a bit unfair, because the people he's worked with, Laura Bailey and Troy Baker, they're probably some of the best actors, unspoken actors of our generation. Um, so, oh, I lost you for a second there. You're back.
I lost you too. I don't know what happened.
So basically, I think that it would be unfair to say like his experience with the actor. So I'll keep to that one. But his ability of like running this in real life projects could be interesting to see if he actually feels constrained or he gets enough support from a completely new type of crew, because it's not the same process. It's not the same planning. It's not the same. But I'm sure he could do it well. But like for me, it's still the same question, which is like I've already seen this story. I don't think this is gonna elevate it. If it's like a God of War movie, like you could watch a God of War movie, but you will never understand, especially for the last one. You will never understand the burden of carrying your wife's ashes in your pocket, and the burden of climbing that mountain. And once you get there, all you had to fight for, and then like the twists and turns where you're also tired, you're also exhausted from the game and what it has given to you. And I don't think that movies work the same way. Games, you have to give a lot to get back. Movies, you just sit there and enjoy.
In a book, you get to spend many hours with a character. You get to listen to their inner monologues, like see their psyche, right? Like some a little bit. With movies, that is very very hard to do, but it can be done. With games, you get something similar to the book in the fact in the sense that you spend so many hours with these characters that gives you another sense of appreciation for them, which, I mean, it could be like forced upon you because you spent so many hours, but I do believe that it has a lot of value because I don't know, I like playing JRPGs that are super super long, where there's this character that in the beginning you thinks he's an asshole or she's an asshole, and then over the course of the game you see like, hey, no, this has a lot of nuance and stuff. Doing that in a movie is pretty hard because you only had 2 hours. Doing that in a series is hard, but it's doable. But in a game, I feel like you're a little bit more relaxed with the pacing and stuff like that. So I do feel that not only the interactive part is integral to what game makes games unique by telling stories, but also the fact that the pacing gives you more avenues of appreciating certain things. I don't know how
Yeah.
you feel about that.
And I think that there's a main difference there, which is also you discover things at your own time. Like you discover things when you stumble upon them. And this happens. A good example of this is what happens in The Last of Us through the environmental storytelling, which I'm a huge fan of. Um, I think it's in The Last of Us too that you reach an apartment that they have a game of Dungeons and Dragons that is just halfway through, and did you know that that's it? That game has no end. That story, it's over. Whoever was playing on that, they're fucking dead, and that universe just died. And that's just by walking into an apartment and seeing that there, and no one's telling you that. You could do that in a movie, in the sense like, okay, here's a shot. But in The Last of Us, you're like, okay, I'm gonna step, I'm gonna, I'm gonna. You could run by if you're a speed runner or no hitter, but you could also just like walk in, check it out, and be like, holy crap, look at this. And I did that because I'm a Dungeons and Dragon enthusiast. So I was like, wow. And it was like, is this a real game? And the game was legit. And it was like, oh crap. And it was at my own time, my own pace. I was like, okay, let me sink this in. And in the same way I just sat there and looked at that, probably I missed a gazillion things that for other people would have been heartbreaking or invigorating or whatever. And and I think that's part of the charm that these video games have, and why sometimes they're the superior medium for some of the stories. I would say the same thing, like again, like the example I was saying from God of War. By the time you throw the ashes of your wife together with your son, you understand, you have seen through the journey, and you understand, okay, the game, this is over. And it's not over because you look at your watch and it's like, oh, it's 2 hours and a half and I gotta go home. It's over because you finish it and you feel it. like you're tired, you're okay, now you can rest, now the thing here is done. and and that's a very powerful thing, and it's something that also like books don't really have. You could reread a book or read more careful, but it's just kind of just there. And there are also like games with more degrees of complexity, like the Outer Wilds, which I played recently, where the story I had was my own, the discoveries I had were my own, out of my own work, and it was like everything in the pieces fit because I make them fit and because they're there in the universe. And that's also like a very powerful thing.
Absolutely. I think that what like the overarching thing of what you're saying, which I love, is the fact that you earn these things. Whether it's an environmental thing where you see the game of D&D, or I don't know, like Dark Souls has a lot of environmental storytelling as well. Uh, all of that, including cutscenes, including earning the end of the game. It's all that you earn it, and the fact that you feel that you earn it, the fact that there's no other art form where you can be like, you know what, I wanted to listen to the track 8 of this album, but I can't because I can't go through the 7. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't happen, and that doesn't happen with a book either. And with the book, I was just thinking about what you were saying, and there is no way that you can. I mean, you can take things at your own pace with a book, but that's kind of dependent on like your reading speed or whatever. It's not dependent on how you take things in. And there is no way that you could like, if there's no mention of the table in The Last of Us, in the Last of Us 2 book, you don't get to see that, right? It's not impossible. It's impossible to have that. So it's cool that these different art forms have these different strengths and weaknesses. I just love that. So, did you want to say something else? Sorry.
No, no, no. I think like kind of like in that time already, yeah, like it's also these are just two different memes. Like they're not like a statue is not a movie, and a movie is not a record, and like that. I think that the video games are their own thing, but we always want more of the things we like. It's just that sometimes we have kind of like the list adaptations here. We can go like one by one and see what works or what doesn't. Maybe that could be like a good exercise. Like, but like because some of them are very hit and miss. Like for example, like the first one is Assassin's Creed, where they were like focused on the thing that I hate the most about the Assassin's Creed series, which
The
is the
Animus.
fucking Animus. It's like, oh my fucking god, why is this here? Like I understand why it's there in the game, but the fact that it's there in the movie, it's just like this is not what the game is about. It totally misses the point.
I had high hopes for that one, but it did not do well. Not at all. And I agree. Like, I think that on one episode, maybe the Ubisoft one that we did, you asked me if I was an Animus stan or something like
Exactly.
that.
I
and
understand.
and and no, I mean, I think I like the device that, I mean, not the device like the actual device, the plot device of how you access these memories and stuff, but I don't think that that's the central part of the franchise at all. So yeah, I think that these guys missed the point like 100%. Then we have things like The Witcher, although The Witcher is kind of weird because I don't know if you saw that the
This
season
is the
one.
game. This is the game. 100. No one's gonna. No nerds. If you're watching this, I don't buy it. No one was reading these books before. These books were not even translated before the games. That's
Valid,
bottom
valid.
line. The books were like the last. Some of the books were translated after The Witcher 3 came out, and it was a hit. So as much as we're like, oh, I love Sarpovsky's. I think it's called Sarpovsky.
Yeah,
Um,
Andrei Sapkowski. Yeah,
Sapkowski's literature. I read them. I like them, but it's not a no brainer. Like the Sanderverse, the books from Brian from Sanderson, they're a no brainer to like make good shows and movies, and that will happen. That will happen. You just have to. They just need to find the time. They're no brainers. This book is like absolutely far fetched. The fact that it was a hit. It was a hit because of the game, and the show. I'm sorry to say this, it's mediocre.
I think I agree. I mean, I watched it and I was very excited to watch it, but as I was watching it, I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm liking this because I like this lore, I like these characters. but the execution here is very weird. So
Yeah, like it's Henry Cavill is cool. It's a
yeah,
great
he's cool.
characterization. It's the best characterization in the whole show, 100%. Also because the other characterizations are pretty questionable, and I dare to say it's the highest of fake diversity that exists in the world. Like it's just
Yeah,
it's up there in the sense of like, okay, let's not have any type of, let's just go balls out Netflix and just make everyone from a different color just because we have, some stupid agenda. I do believe that the production design is terrible, like the outfits of everything that's not Gerald, and the songs from Jaskier, that it fucking sucks. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
because I mean, I still have in my playlist like "Toss a Coin to Your Witcher." That was a hit.
And the other
I
one is a
mean,
hit as well. The one, like, what was it like? The one that the Jennifer song. I'm gonna like search for it real quick. That's a coin to your witcher. I think that one's good.
that was so good.
I'm trying to find it, but like, damn it. Uh, so the music is good, by the way.
Yeah,
Like,
it
I
is. It
also
is
like.
good. It is good.
I think that the music is really good.
But I think going back to video games, I think you make a valid point because, of course, the storyline that they're
Her
following.
sweet kiss. Her sweet kiss.
Oh, okay.
That one
Hershey's
was
Kiss, yeah,
good
yeah.
as well.
True. So the storylines that they're following are the true precursors to the first book, which are I think the Last Wish and the. So it's not the Last Sword. It's the
The
something
Sword of
sword.
Destiny. Sword of Destiny.
That's the one. Okay. And so of course that's a book that's not even in the games or whatever. But if you have played the games, or at least The Witcher 3, you don't have to have played the 1 and 2 to know what I'm about to say, but the music, like the intro music, that is like a woman, very Shakira-esque, like I mean that's lifted from the games 100%. And as much as I love Henry Cavill, and I do love him in the show, and I think he's awesome, and he's passionate. He's also something that's very good because he loves the games, and
Yeah.
he made sure that he did a good job, and that's also pretty
The
cool.
voice is from the games.
The voice is from the games.
The
That's where I
voice is
was
from the
going.
games.
He
Simple
straight
as
up
that.
lifted it. Yes, of
It's from the
course.
games. I mean, there are things that Gerald says on the books, the thing, but he picked that up from the games, 100%. I would say that if you read those books, the role of the Witcher is not inherently that of a super powerful entity. It's his, and also like in the novels, there are a lot of degrees of complexity, so it becomes a little bit more Game of Thrones-ish, and it's not always Gerald. Like it's a pretty broad story that I don't think it's that strong. Like you have really good characters, but like most of them are pretty forgettable in the books and in the game, to some extent, if it weren't for the fact that you're making those decisions, that you're driving the story, and I don't know, I think overall it's mostly a book. I would say this is by far one of the best movie adaptations from a game, rather than say it's one of the best literary adaptations, because I don't think it worked that way.
Yeah, but it's also kind of weird because I feel like it's a 50-50 thing because they lifted like the aesthetics, the music, and everything from the game, but then the stories from the books, so it's kind of weird. It's a
Yeah, but
50-50.
it's not from the games, because the games are after the
Yeah,
books.
correct. So another one that I think that is really good, and I think we could maybe finish on this one and maybe see if there's something else to say about the whole topic is Castlevania. I don't know if you've seen the
Yeah,
Netflix
yeah, it's in
show.
the show, and I think it's good. I think it's a, but I think it's a. I have a take about that one, which is I think it's a good vampire show.
Okay, go ahead, go ahead.
Like it's a good vampire show, and it's cool because it's vampires. But it's not. There's no way that they could have like picked up the Metroidvania look and feel of a game and then turn it into a show.
Oh no, not at all. I mean, I
But
think
but
that's pretty hard to do, but yeah,
it's impossible. Like it's it's
yeah,
just okay. The cool thing about this is exploration and being challenging. Like a movie can be challenging. Like you hit play and it's gonna end.
absolutely. But I do think that as far as the characters go, like Alucard and Dracula is a fascinating character in that show because it's not the typical bad guy. He has some nuances. I mean, what happens to Maria, I think, who's
Yeah,
his wife.
Maria.
It's pretty. I mean, I loved that show a lot. I thought the performances were truly amazing. The fights, the action parts
The
were
animation
really
gets
good.
better. I didn't like the animation in the first one. I do struggle a lot with the Western animation where they seem to be missing like 20 frames per second.
Okay.
I don't know. It got better, and I think I kind of sink into it. But if you watch anime, it's really hard to not think that this looks bad. At least in the first one. But I think after that they got better. But there are some other animated shows, American animated shows, that is like, dude, I can't fucking stand this.
Did you watch the Witcher one with Vesemir?
I haven't. I want to watch that one. I want to watch that one.
So
It's in my
that one
playlist.
is interesting because I think it's. I mean, I kind of searched this around, and it's not entirely the same team that made Castlevania, but it's very Castlevania. Like
Yeah,
everything is super Castlevania. Even Vesemir, which doesn't make sense in any way, because he's not Trevor Belmont. He's Vesemir,
I
and
think
they.
that it depends on the resources as well. Like I also don't want to be unfair to any animators or studios. Like probably the resources to make like the first season of Castlevania were limited, and they got like a limited amount of like effort put into some things, and that was okay.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And I'm not knocking the animation at all. I think that like from the technical aspect, it's pretty cool. I love that the fights and everything. But the characterization of Vesemir, I was just like, dude, I've played the games and I've read some books, not all, and this is not what I think this is. I'm like, this is wrong.
It was kind of like a superhero type of guy.
Yeah, he was just like very jokey, right? Like Iron Man.
Josh Whedon there once and always. Now all of these fuckers they have to tell jokes, be self aware, and be like, ooh, look at this, I'm witchering.
I'm witchering, exactly.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's a joke.
Yeah, I
I
would love for you to watch it and tell me what you think, because I think that you're gonna feel the same way.
I'll check it out. I'll check it out. I don't think it's. I think that I'm getting used to the fact that humor is spread out. I think that's also something I liked about the Dracula one, the Castlevania one. Like some people were just not funny. Like no one was cracking jokes in that show. Like if there were some moments of humor, but it was always like
Very
very
dry.
focused. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very dry. It was never like, "Ooh, I'm a bit thirsty, huh? Anyone wants to give me a glass of tomato juice? Or some stupid shit like that."
Yeah, that's true. So I think I want to end this conversation by talking about a little bit about the inferiority complex that I feel that exists between games and films. Because I mean, it makes 100% sense that video games that are R&D medium, as we've talked about in the show, I believe that they're like a teenage medium, art style, or not art style, like art expression, means of expression. They're kind of in their teenage years. Of course, film is way ahead of them in that sense. And of course, any new art form always looks at the ones that came before it for inspiration, for influence, and everything, and all that. However, I do believe that that video games feel like they have to reach films as if they were superior. And I think that it's not a sense like they shouldn't feel a sense of that they're superior. They're just ahead because they've been more time in this earth, correct?
Yeah.
So what do you feel about that? Because I think this kind of relates to what you were talking about before, how you're getting a little bit tired of cutscenes as years go on and stuff like that. So I'd love to hear your perspective.
So it's a new medium, so it opens up every once in a while to new ideas. And for a while, the idea of quick time events helped to drive cinematic pieces with in-game engines. So at some point, that when completely off the rails, and I think the peak of quick time events was with the famous F to pay respects for I think it was Modern Warfare 2 or
I
Advanced
think
Warfare.
wasn't it Ghosts or
You think
Advanced
so?
Warfare? No, Advanced Warfare. I think you're
I think
correct.
it was Advanced Warfare because it had Kevin Space because it was Kevin Space is the one who was like the bad guy. Imagine that, huh?
Who would have
And that's a
thunk?
good example because like that I think that at that point, like we had Kevin Spacey in the film, in the game, which at the time was like one of the biggest actors in the world. He had an Eminem song. Like money wise and project wise, it's there. Like there are millions of people playing these games, and there are thousands of people working there. But when it comes to like the film adaptation, I think that it's like what you were saying before. It's like you take it to one side and then you take it to the other, and then you end up like with a dried version of like that loses meaning. I think that games are maturing. They're maturing real fast, and that's why some of the best games out there have come out in the last 5 years. That's why the best Zelda for plenty of people came out recently. Breath of the Wild, and I think that that's kind of like it's maturing. It has more creativity, and the thing is, like, unlike movies, we don't know exactly what to expect from every single game. When you go to see a Marvel movie, you know what you're going to get. Like, it's never going to be like something completely abstract, and that's something that is definitely happening nowadays with games, because like it's that expensive. So I think that in a way that's really cool that we are seeing it mature in real time. Some things are working, some things are not. The things that are not working are being left behind. And for me, the cutscenes is a good example, because I want the gameplay to be king. I want the environmental storytelling to be king. I want to proactively discover things at my own pace. And that's why cutscenes are not that interesting to me anymore, because I know, like, I kind of know the games give you a goal of why you're going somewhere. So once you get there and you execute the goal, it's like, okay, I'm waiting for my next goal. And if you don't really decipher it from the cutscene, you probably don't need the cutscene. Like, I've been playing Death Stranding, and I see the cutscene in Death Stranding, and they're really boring, because I know what's going to happen. I know what the game loop is. Like, okay, I got here, they're going to give me some packages, and I have to go back. I got here, they're going to give me some and fuck those cutscenes. And it's happening, like, even while playing Destiny. I was playing like some of the dungeons where they don't give you any hints or anything, and bro, at some points, like, I had no idea what the fuck to do. And that's the gameplay. In the background, you had like some people like with some voiceover dialogue, and I was like, hey, who gives a shit? I need to figure out this dungeon.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's like I do think that the cutscene thing, I totally understand it. I think that Kojima is a very specific offender of this, because he takes them to another level, and not necessarily in a good way. I mean, he's the man who gave us Metal Gear Solid 4, who had like 1 hour cutscenes, and this
It took
is
like 40 minutes to hold the controller in the first after the first cinematic.
yeah, that's one of the reasons why I think Metal Gear Solid 4 is my least favorite. But that's a topic for uh, another episode. But yeah, no,
But that's
I
a good
understand.
point, because they're adapting a Metal Gear Solid. They're making a Metal Gear Solid movie.
That is cool. That is good. That is correct. And the guy who's doing it apparently had the okay from Kojima, like on the script and everything.
Who gives a shit? Like,
And
it's like when George R. R. Martin was like writing the world for Elden Ring, and then they caught up with him like 9 months later, and he's like, "Yeah, I sent them like 20 pages." Like, in the end, probably Miyazaki looked over and was like, "Okay, this looks cool. We'll see if actually anything on that lands." And also, Asian people, they really like when their work is adapted elsewhere. They find that like a massive sign of respect.
okay,
So I would still take anything with a grain of salt, because
yeah,
probably
I
Kojima
think
is just happy to see Snake on the big screen.
yeah, I think maybe Kojima saw in his mind like Hollywood plus Metal Gear equals I'm cooler now. So yeah, whatever. Yeah, you're totally right. But yeah, like I don't know, like I think that especially Metal Gear is a game that's pretty hard, I think, to adapt, because how do you capture that weirdness that we were talking about with Fabio, like the weird writing, without having it sound bad? It's just a very high challenge.
And
I
actually, it comes from the movies itself. Like, it's a
yeah,
self-referential thing. Like, it comes from Rambo, Commando, Escape from New York. These are watered down references into a very unique product. So, if you want to do like an action film like this one, you could just do your own adaptation, do your own version. Which, like, what which story are you adapting? Would be my question. Like, because in the end, each game is so different from the other that it's almost like a James Bond. You know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, it's actually, when you think about it, it's kind of a mess. So I don't really envy Jordan Vogt Roberts, who's like their director for the movie. I don't envy him at all because I think
And also the I mean, I'm one of those people who think like you can play any Metal Gear without knowing anything about the other ones
true.
to some extent, especially
Yeah,
like the fifth one. Like, you probably have no idea of anything either way. You know, like, we're even fucking like, some people are. I've seen like some reaction shots of people surprised that you're not the real big boss. At the end,
spoilers.
oh my god, 5 year old spoiler, and it's like, really? Like of course, like, it's really, and of course, like, if you haven't played the game, you why would you think that you're somewhere else? It's an empty, it's a non-spoiler if you play the games, but if you haven't played the games, it's an incredible plot twist.
That is correct. I like, yeah, like anybody who hears that, first of all, doesn't understand it if they haven't played it, and it only makes sense after you've seen the whole thing and all that. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I think, this is a very complex issue. As I said, I don't envy these people who have to do this. I don't see the necessity, but we know that they want new audiences, they want to spend that money, and they want to get that money. So it's kind of the circle of life, the money cycle. And yeah, I mean, I hope these things are good. Like talking about The Witcher season 2 and The Last of Us season 1 and Uncharted. I mean, I don't know.
For most of
I
this, I
don't know.
just let people tell me whether they're good or not.
Yeah, exactly. But that leads us to the final part of the show, Christian, where we talk about what we've been playing. And I think the answer for you is pretty simple, but
I don't know
pretty
if I don't know
complex.
if we might need to scrap this section, because I'm always going to be playing Destiny 2 from now on. Apparently, this is the only thing I seem to be doing. So it could be like, what are you doing in Destiny? Or,
Correct. So do you have any new updates, any new things that you've seen?
so I've spent a lot of money, uh, just unlocking a bunch of content that I barely understand, but I do have to say that I'm still having fun. And now that I have matured a little bit as a player, I still believe that this is an incredibly unaccessible game, in the sense that you don't know. I was telling this the other day to some friends I'm playing with, like, you don't know the value of a dollar in Destiny. You know, I think that's how I describe it. Like, if there's an item, you're like, okay, should I consume it? Should I dismantle it? You have like 7 types. Seven is it's a low estimate. You have like 10 types of currencies everywhere, like materials that you don't clearly understand what they do, and it's impossible to piece them out just by reading the description. Like, oh, here's the synth wave. What the fuck? The fuck's the synth wave, man? Oh, this is bright dust, and this is silver. And it's like, what? And it's never easily explained, because the main tool, the main instructional device are the quests, and they're not like, and they're terrible for teaching things to the player. But I have to say that the game excels when it doesn't try to teach you anything, where you just are left with a problem and be like, finish this dungeon, or do this raid, or fuck off.
Yeah, I think that what you're saying is totally correct. Like the moment to moment gameplay is super fun. It's amazingly balanced. It feels great, like shooting and blah blah blah. Everything, all that is great.
The weapons.
However, yeah, exactly. The
I was
weapons are
playing. I played the. Did you play the Battlefield beta?
no, but I've heard bad things about it.
So I shot. I turned on the game, ran for like 50 seconds, found someone, shot him, and it felt so fucking bad that I literally uninstalled the game. I was like, I'm out. I really don't care if this is the experience. But on the contrary, like the first time in the tutorial in Destiny where you just like shoot someone, I was like, this is it. This is the game. And every gun packs a punch that is just like, they all seem viable as well.
100%. And also the sound design for each gun is super specific. Like you can, when you're playing multiplayer, you can recognize who's using what, and that is so cool because like when you fall in love with a gun, this sounds awful, but when you fall in love with a gun, it's truly remarkable, like
Yeah.
how much of a good job they did.
And you miss it when you use something different, and then you almost try to recognize a gun by how it feels. It's really really good. Like definitely, like that's one of the things that makes it accessible as a player. But the whole economy and figuring out like gut rolls and inventory management, it has some of the best menus I've ever seen for how much complex everything is. Yet it's like I have no idea. And there's something, and I think that with the lore, it's so spread out. As I was saying before, like I've been watching like out of a 4 hour video, I've seen 1 full hour of the story of the world, and it's just a million years in the past. And they say name after name, and then I'm doing the quests, and I honestly don't know exactly in which point of time of the quests I am at some point. So it's just hard. It's just really hard to like get in, and I think it's as a new player, it's a struggle. But I'm sure like if I had stayed from the beginning, I had things like pretty clear in my head.
Absolutely. And one thing that me as a returning player, because I've been playing a little bit with you guys, when you see an item, it's like, okay, this item is boots. If you click Y or triangle in the PlayStation, the mod thing and the infusion, I mean, I know what an infusion is. It's like, well, whatever. But like the things have gotten so complicated that it's like, I don't even want to know what this does. I just want to play. I don't care.
The infusion thing, it's non-intuitive at all. Like
No. Yeah,
it's
true.
like it takes a while to understand what power level means, and then the points that you have available, and it's just like, wow, this is too much. I honestly think it's too much. And if you don't like, this is a game that if you finish it single player, like if you consume the content solo, it's pretty crazy. Like, and some missions are just like borderline impossible. They're meant to be played in groups of 3. And that I don't know, like it just feels like it. I'm glad that it's successful, but it's really hard to replicate. Like I think that most studios building clones for this are missing the mark, which is, this is not a game that you build from scratch. It's a game that you kind of like, it's a platform that you build throughout the years.
Correct. If you haven't been playing anything else, I think I can go ahead with my pick of the week. Well, it's not a pick, it's just a play or whatever. I have been playing Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, which is the PS5 package that they did with the DLC and everything. I mean, even though it's been on my backlog for a while, I have been anticipating playing this game for a long time because in order to prepare for this game, I played through the PS1 version on 2019. So it's not like I had like 20-year nostalgia for it, because I never had a PS1 or anything. And the first time I played the PS1 game, I mean, as you know, like us gamers, we play 20 games a year or maybe even more. I think, yeah, 20 is kind of not so much. For us to have a game that sticks with us and where the music really makes a super, super, super deep impact, it's kind of hard because of how much we play. This game, even though it's more than 20 years old, it did. Like, I fell in love with the music. I thought that the characters were super interesting. The story is very... It's not as straightforward as some of the stories we see today. It's kind of a little bit... not surreal, that's not the word I'm looking for, but it's kind of more, I mean, not as much as Returnal, but kind of in that, some of that, like in that style, right? Like where they don't give you 100% of the answers.
Like a lot
and
of,
I find that
very
super interesting.
subliminal.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the word I was looking for. So going into the remake, I had heard good things. I had heard weird things of people like saying that the story is weird, which is strange because it's supposed to be a remake. However, I think I see what they were talking about, and I am halfway through the game, or perhaps a little bit more, and I don't really know where it's going yet, but I think I know. So I have my suspicions, and if it is going where I think it's going, I think it's super, super interesting because, you know, we've seen Resident Evil 2 remake, which is like, okay, it has the word remake, and we know to expect the same story, maybe with a couple of changes, but like the A, B, and C, D, they should be the same. And here, the first chapter, which is like when you go into the Shinra reactor. I don't know if you played the original
Yeah,
game, but
yeah.
okay. So the first mission where you go and you blow up the reactor, that is like a one-to-one like recreation of everything. From then on, things are very very different, and I'm not going to spoil anything. Even I mean, I don't think I could because, as I said, I haven't finished the game, so I don't really know if what I think is happening. But I think that these guys could have taken this really interesting route that I am very interested to see. And from the gameplay aspect and the graphics aspect and the music, like that's what I wanted to say about this. Like coming back to this music, seeing the new arrangements, how they mix in a couple of like electronic things, orchestral things. Or although I do believe that this is not a real orchestra, it's like a sampled thing, but like very high quality, so it
It
kind of
could
sounds
be.
like
Could
it.
be.
It's like, dude, these are some of the most memorable melodies and music that I have ever heard in a video game. And as I said,
It is really good because I think it's also like up there with compositions like Nier Automata. In the sense like they're really unique.
super super unique, and also like, for example, there is no way that I can forget the melodies from Ocarina of Time. In part because they are very good, of course. In part because they hit me at a very impactful age, but also like the nostalgia plays in a lot there as well.
Yeah,
Here I don't have that, and they still
they're
got
still
to the
good.
heartstrings, and I found that so fascinating because like this is like some A/B testing of like person who played it back in 1998, success. Person who played it in 2019, success. It's like it's a testament of how good the original and the remake are. So I thought that was fascinating. The way that they've revamped the combat, I love it because like I'm not gonna say I hate turn-based combats because that's not true, but it's very easy for me to find it a little bit boring if it's not done correctly. Here it's not. I mean, it's real time, but it has these elements where you're charging up a bar, and then when the bar charges, you can use these abilities, and you can change from character to character. So it's very dynamic, even though it has this not real time thing going on.
But I would argue that's still real time. I mean,
Oh
you
yeah,
could.
yeah, yeah.
Turn based. Like in a way, you could almost argue that anything in games is, is turn based if you maximize your actions. I think that the combat here also it's really flashy. The one thing about the story that I don't like that much is the fact that it's just one third of it. You know, like I think that the original story had a lot of power on being like a single game. I did play when I was a kid, so I'm kind of like the nostalgia guy. And the fact that I knew that it was just gonna end like one third of the way through was kind of like a bummer for me. And the ways that we're expanding the story, I thought that it was, if anything, I would have done it the other way around, like a bit more straightforward or like whatnot, because like some quests they're not that cool. I would say, but overall, I think that it's a really really strong game. It looks great, by the way. I think that the PS5 patch that they did with the integrate is really really solid, and I do think that I hope that some of the elements that the game had get introduced later. Like I think that they had kind of like a deck building game inside of the original one, right? I don't, or was it the
Deck
other one?
building
Was that other
game.
Final Fantasy?
I think you're talking about nine because I think nine had
Yeah,
some
no,
of
no.
that.
In nine they had it. In seven they didn't have it. But I want to like see more of like the universe and whatnot, and like see the story unfold. I don't know. That's kind of like my only point, which I think it's a massive point, where I say, oh, this kind of falls flat. But once you finish it, let me know if you think that it's it. I don't know. Like I don't think it's gonna like it doesn't end in a cliffhanger, massive cliffhanger or anything. But I do believe that I like the idea of like the whole experience that the original one had.
Yeah, no, I'm totally looking forward to finishing it and having that discussion. However, what I meant about me liking what they're doing is not necessarily how they're stretching out everything so that they cover
So
in
it's worth
30
$60.
hours. Yeah, exactly. No, I think that actually is one of the weakest parts of it because I can see some of the things that in the original were like, yeah, you go from here to here. And here they kind of introduce some weirdness that is not necessarily bad, but it's like unnecessary, right? It's like, but what I was saying that I like is, as I said, I can't confirm or deny this because I haven't finished it. But I have some theories around why this, some of this is so different, and I'll just have to play forward to confirm that, and I'll get back to you.
We'll see.
We will see. Is there anything else you wanted to touch upon? Is there anything you wanted to say as final note of the episode?
There's no one in the world that wants video game movies to be just as good as the game as we are. So if we hate them, it's because we're disappointed. But I would love to see the universes that we enjoy in games to be sprawling and successful and great adaptations, so more people could enjoy it at their own terms. But that's rarely the case. So
That is very good note to end on. You know what? I'm gonna ask you just one small little question before we go, which is, I think that sometimes with this topic, these creators or these directors or whatever you're going to call them, they are damned if they do, damned if they don't. And what do I mean by this? If they follow the same story as the games, we criticize them, and I've done this. And if they go in a completely different direction, we also criticize them, and I've done this. So I do think that we can find a middle ground where you don't go as far, but don't stay as safe, and do something really cool. What do you think about that? That's last reflection.
how so?
Like, because we're criticizing that the Last of Us plays it too safe by just retreading the first game. But then when we see things like, I don't know, like Uncharted trying something different with Sully
So-
and Nathan, it's like we also criticize him, and with good reason. So I just wanted to know if, like, a reality check over there.
So for me, it's not like I think it both have like different ways of failing. Like the first one, Uncharted, is like not relying on the source material, and then I think the other one, to be fair, hasn't come out yet, so I haven't seen it. But if it tries to do just the story of the first one, it's gonna miss a lot of what made the game really good. Like I guess in the case of Uncharted, most likely it's gonna fucking suck because it has nothing to do. And in this one, it could miss some of the magic and some of the tension that it was traversing the world of The Last of Us. And I think that that's like one falls flat for not even trying, and the other one could fall flat for trying the wrong things.
Yes, I think I agree exactly. I have nothing to add. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we end this episode of New Game Experience. If you like this, please check out Cristian Caroli's hammerspacepodcast.com. He does an amazing podcast where he goes to games, movies, philosophy in Spanish, so you can learn that as well. Is there something I missed? Just in case you
Nothing.
wanted to
That's
come?
it. Hammerspacepodcast.com, and see you later, everyone. Have fun.
Absolutely. And if you like this, please also share it, comment, like it, subscribe. We would love to have you here every week as we traverse through these topics and hopefully make some good content in the meantime. We will see you on the next episode of the podcast.